My name is Doug Johns. I'm 57 years old, and about 33 years ago, I rode from Seattle to New York on a bicycle. I decided to do it because I wanted to. I wanted to have a sense of adventure. I was about to go to graduate school, and I took the summer off to do it. So I really did it just to prove to myself that I could do it. It took 7 weeks, and so 50 days, and I rode for 40 of those 50 days. It took me 3,600 miles, and so I rode an average of 90 miles a day. The hardest part of the trip was not being alone. It wasn't even riding up hills, it was the wind. If I was riding during a windy day, the wind would constantly buffet me around, and it was exhausting. It was like torture. I met a lot of people during the trip. Every day I would interact with people, whether it was around buying provisions, or at the end of every day I would have to find a place to sleep for the night. And over time got very confident that I would meet somebody in a community that I rode into, interact with them, and they would help me find a place to stay. I stayed in backyards, I stayed in churchyards, I stayed in parks. Out west, I could stay just about anywhere because there's so much open wilderness. And I slept in a tent in a sleeping bag every night. And it was pretty easy finding a place to stay, mostly because I would be interacting with people that I met along the way. People, I think because I was alone, wanted to reach out and help me if they could. I was at this convenience store, and this older guy comes up to me, and he's sort of a little guy, but had gray hair, and he says, he asks me, "Are you on the road?" And I was, I'd just ridden 135 miles, I was dirty and sweaty, and I said, "Yeah." He asked me, "Need a place to stay?" And I said, "Sure." And he walked out of the convenience store, jumped in his truck, and took off down the road. And so I jumped on my bike and followed him. And we really just only went a couple blocks. And his name was Archie. And this guy had been a kind of a hobo in either the 30s or 40s, and he rode the rails. And so he knew what it was like to be riding, traveling by yourself and not having a lot. And so he fed me dinner. He let me tent in his backyard. I took a shower. And he had, since his travels, had settled down, had married the town librarian, and I think he worked for the Department of Public Works, and he was retired when I met him. And he was a really nice guy, but he was a really cool guy who knew what it was like to travel on the road. And what I like about biking is that, especially bike touring, is you see a lot that you don't see from a car. You meet people that you won't otherwise meet. I was literally outside for 7 weeks straight, and you get to learn how to predict the weather even. I think I rode in the rain one day out of the entire 7 weeks, and the rest of the time I could usually predict the weather like 3 or 4 hours in advance and make sure that I was not caught in a storm. And you're traveling on the road and fairly self-sufficient, and it's really an enjoyable way to see the country. It's very affirming about the sort of positive attitude that Americans have about travel, about people. They're always excited to meet somebody who's on the road. So one of the unexpected benefits of riding cross country was it really taught me the importance of patience and perseverance. Anybody can ride across the country if you just stick with it long enough. You don't have to go fast. You do get stronger over time. But the other really important thing that I've really carried with me for the rest of my life has been that a sense of resilience and resourcefulness. I never feel like I can't figure something out if I'm in a situation. You don't need to have all the creature comforts that we tend to get accustomed to. And being resourceful and knowing that you can get through something no matter how difficult the situation seems is one of the lessons that I've taken with me as a result of this trip. Coming home was kind of odd because I biked down Long Island to where my parents were living. And I got there probably mid-afternoon, and they were at work, so nobody was home. And then when my parents finally got home from work, they said, "Oh, you're home. We didn't realize you were coming home today." So it was very anticlimactic, but that was probably appropriate, that it really wasn't doing it for any kind of glory. It was really for my own self-satisfaction, and it was, you know, a lasting and very satisfying thing that I did.